Good evening. Today we're going to talk about a good communication. So, what is a good communication? A good communication is building a rapport with an individual or a group. What does building a rapport mean? A rapport means having a connection, an understanding, and a close relationship with an individual or a group. And if you have a good rapport with an individual or a group, it'll make conversations and making business deals easier. Because, when you're making a deal with your friends, it's more easier and it's faster to get to an agreement because you know how they are, you know what they think like, and you have a connection, so it's easier to make a decision together or making deals together. So, why is good communication important? As I said before, building a good relationship with someone is important, especially if it's a long-term connection or relationship. It will help us make many connections. And who knows, if you have a good connection with an individual or a group, he or she can help us improve personally or maybe improve our business in the future. So now, how to have a good communication? I have 4 ways to do it. The first one is we have to be a good listener, meaning like don't listen as simple as going in one ear and out the other. We need to engage in the listening, meaning we have to listen to understand. When we listen, we have to know what they're talking about, we have to understand what they're saying, we have to know what they're saying. And to do that, we need to avoid interrupting the speaker when he's speaking with unrelated topics. Uh, Carefully listen and carefully respect what he's saying and try not to cut him off midway his sentence. And of course, we need a simple head nod or a simple yes or uh-huh when they're talking, so they know that we are actually listening and we are respecting what they're saying. We also need to encourage or praise their statements. Like if they say a statement about your work, about a work, and then you can say like, wow, that's a really good point. And that person, the speaker, they will feel good and they will feel like their ideas are being acknowledged and they're being heard. And we as humans, we like to be acknowledged and we like that our ideas are being heard. So by doing so, we can make a good relationship with someone. The second is nonverbal communication or body language. When we're both talking and listening, we need to look at and be conscious of the body language. We have to appear confident, we have to talk confidently, we have to appear like we know what we're talking about, so the listener will not doubt our words. But we also need to see the listener's body language. Why? Because by seeing his or her body language, we can see if he or she understands what we're saying, is comfortable talking with us, or maybe he's interested or not in our conversation. And if we notice those things, we can act accordingly and make them more engaging in our conversations. Like for example, if you're talking with a slouched shoulder, you talk like this or head forward, or you talk in a very low volume so no one can hear you, or people can barely hear you, or your tempo in speaking is too fast, no eye contact, and flat expressions, it will definitely make the listener uncomfortable. Uh, it will make the listener not understand what you're saying, and the listener will definitely think that you don't want to talk to him or her. You're just talking to yourself. So try to make good body language and try to read the listener's body language so you know and you can act accordingly what to do if they seem uninterested or if they seem uncomfortable. And third, we have to be empathetic, meaning we have to be able to be in someone else's shoes. We have to be able to see other people's point of view, and by being empathy, by being in someone else's shoes, by being able to see his or her point of view, it will definitely make a good connection, because the speaker will feel like, oh, this person knows what I'm talking about, this person's know what I'm going through, and with that they will definitely feel more connected with us, and they will want to talk to us more. They'll want to speak with us because we may give them a good suggestions or a good input for them. And sometimes the people who don't show empathy or don't know empathy, they'll be judgmental, and we know that no one likes to be judged. So one of the ways to not judge people is being empathy, knowing what they're going through, knowing why they do things. That will make the conversation more more being in tune, being in sync. And lastly, is not asking too many questions. I mean, we can ask questions, but don't bombard the listener with questions, because when we are communicating with others, it's best to ask simple questions, not too much, because we all know asking too many questions equals to being in an interview, and no one likes to be in an interview. And the questions are used to dig information, to demand information from the other person, and it's very one-sided, and the other person will feel uncomfortable because they don't know anything about you. So to change that, try to make statements. Like, for example, if a person asks what you are scared of, and or he starts with a statement like, I used to be afraid of the dark. When I was a kid, I used to cover myself with a blanket to hide from ghosts. From these two conversations, we can see that in questions, we can the only information we get is from the other person. But when we are making a statement, the listener can branch off from what we're talking about. He could talk about, like, when he was a kid, he was not afraid of the dark, or when he was a kid, he used to be afraid of the dark. So what he did was he turned on the lights, different from the person that covers himself with a blanket to hide from ghosts. Or he can talk about ghost stories with the person, so they'll make a better connection. And lastly, when making a statement, make small humors. Don't make too many jokes, just small ones, so it will lighten up the mood. Because if you're talking in statements, sometimes it's very serious, and it's if you're too serious, you'll be stressed, and if you're too stressed, you will be not able to make good decisions. So just put in little humors, not too much, because if too much, it will be like a stand-up show or something that's not good. So yeah, just make little humors, so it'll be a good conversation. Okay, that is all. Thank you.